Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey Doro, hey Christiane.
Hello, good to see you. Mm.
Yes, good to see him in us. No? Uh, well, we had really last time in our last episode 4, very beautiful experience of looking at the holy instant. And we are joining here with this idea of getting on board with the Course in Miracles and entrance to a new you, to a new me. And we basically made a demonstration of how we can direct our mind towards an experience of complete timelessness in the here and now, of an experience of self recognition. And I think this is absolutely the basis for us to also uh, come to an expression or to a demonstration how that miracle of a quiet mind really works in us, no? Through that contact with Him. And so that quietness is, of course, based also on a clear choice and a decision in our mind. I choose to be quiet. And this is, in that sense, the new entrance really to the new world. And so we can look also at this wonderful lesson as it is given us. We are in a Course in Miracles, starting with the 1st of January in lesson 183. I call upon God's name and on my own. And in this last paragraph, Jesus mentions, if I'm gonna just read these last sentences, all little things are silent, little sounds are soundless now, the little things of the earth have disappeared. The universe consists of nothing but the Son of God who calls upon his Father, and his Father's voice gives answer to his Father's holy name. And in this eternal, still relationship, in which communication far transcends all words and yet exceeds in depth and height whatever words could possibly convey, is peace eternal. In our Father's name, we would experience this peace today, and in His name it shall be given us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is very beautiful, and it's, as you said, it's so important that I make a decision um, to be silent, to decide not to listen to my thoughts, or just driving me crazy, and they're, yeah, actually even not real, and to sit still and just listen to our Father and listening to saying his name and listening to what he's telling me, and not to see, not to, not wanting to listen to anything else, because there is actually nothing else. So we can, yeah, just sit quietly and listening to his voice, who's always there, the voice of the Holy Spirit talking to us. So this inner wisdom, which is always here. And then we can experience that there is nothing else. There's nothing more important than this. And it compasses everything. it just shows me all the love, and there's just oneness, seeing just the oneness, that we are one, this only Son of God, that we are.
Yeah, wonderful. And it's also a clear directive that this is possible even in the midst of dreaming the dream. It is in the midst of believing that there's seemingly something going on in the dream, in the world. And it is, of course, easy uh, to say, well, when I'm back in heaven, then this is my experience. No? And that what kept the idea of death up, that kept still the idea kind of real, that there is a world really going on. And in the experience of that stillness, of a silence that is the peace of God, we recognize that it is also the answer to that belief of, under quote, reality of a world or of dream images, because it does clearly let the mind recognize it's not so. It allows us to join that self-recognition. Yes, the world is disappearing in my mind. This is the truth. There is no world. And it disappears in this instant of being silent, of being completely silent. And that gift that we have accepted is coming from God Himself, because it is the experience of His mind as the mind of the Son of God. So when we choose to be silent, we are willing to accept to be the Son of God, to be a perfect creation of God Himself, to be that extending light and love and peace that is His inheritance for His Son, that is ours, that is mine. And to remember that not just in moments of, oh, there is some turmoil going on and there's really something wrong right now. Now I need the peace of God, but really to live that way, to take moments of standing still, of that silence, no matter what the circumstances are on the dream imagery, is is our expression of the willingness to be home, because this is every time a returning home when we experience the peace of God.
Yeah, and I want to point out to another important aspect of it, is that, here in this world we think we have so many problems, but if I'm really willing and I really decide to be still, to enter the silence, every problem, every conflict, every idea, I mean, it comes all from fear and from the idea of separation, it will just disappear. And I will recognize and experience that there is no problem, or with every problem, it just comes to my mind, there's already the solution. So it's one, it's just one moment, because there is no time, there's no problem. And yeah, I just love this so much, that I really can experience if I'm still, silent, and I really let myself fall into this moment, there is never a problem. This is just the ego mind thinking about the past or the future. But in this now moment, there is no conflict. And it's an important part. It's my purpose, it's my function here. And in this lesson, there's a little bit earlier, there's a very nice sentence. You can accept today the part you play in its salvation and your own as well. And both can be accomplished perfectly. So I have a very important role here to do. And yeah, as you said, it's not just if I see there's a problem, there's turmoil in this world, there's I don't know what, I really can do this in every moment.
Yeah. And so the entire training consists actually to prepare the mind for opening up to this moment, and opening up to realize this is what I came here for. This is really my only dealing with images of the world. I'm asked to experience them in a complete peace in my own mind, to experience that there is no problem, as you said clearly, Doro. No? And this is the truth. There is not really a problem. I had to make up a problem. I need to go into a sensing and feeling that something is wrong with the situation, something is wrong with this other person, something is wrong with what I see. And in truth, I only see the meaning of the past reflected onto whatever I wanna have it reflecting back to me. And it is this letting those meanings be what they truly are, speaking, letting them open up to the non-meaning, to the meaninglessness, to the nothingness from where they were made up, is this action and choice of being quiet, dedicated. I dedicate my mind to let all meaning that I have given to everything and everyone, to let it come forth and show me that it is not there indeed, that I have the choice to keep it real and hold it real, or to let it literally disappear in the light that shines all the time and wants to show me who I truly am. And that is also kind of yeah, part of this lesson. And I don't know in which paragraph you were, but this is in the fourth last paragraph where he makes us aware to acknowledge that his son is part of him, that the Son of God is part of God. Uh, ma- uh,
Mm.
that is the lesson that um, my mind is part of God, so I'm very holy, lesson 35. No? And, and in this lesson today, I re-acknowledge it again. I say once again, yes, this is so. The Son of God is and must be an extension of God, and acknowledge that this part is a whole part, an entire part. And the further instruction that he gives then by saying, sit silently and let his name, let the name of the Father, of God himself, become the all-encompassing idea that holds your mind completely. To let it, to give it, to permit it, to allow it, that it can become all-encompassing, that it communicates and extends itself into all perspectives of, of my mind, of our mind. And let all thoughts be still except this one. So this is an expression that mind is always thinking. It's the thinking capacity, and there's always a thought in the mind extending itself. But if I allow that thinking, that thought becomes God himself, becomes God extending, then, then there is the mind literally turning into its co-creative capacity, because the Son of God, being a co-creator with God, is not really here anymore. It is that sentence leads us out of time and allows us and even reminds us, in truth, you are a co-creator with God. I'm a co-creator with God. And so I'm supposed to think as God thinks. And so if I hold only his thought, which might be first still an expression in words by saying Father or God, but that becomes also a wordless, um, speechless, literally an inner vibration of thought itself that extends. And that is the invitation that he gives us today, to let all thoughts be still except the thought of God. And to all other thoughts, I can and we should respond with this and see God's name replace the thousand little names that we gave our thoughts, not realizing that there's one name for all there is and all that there will be. It's a little bit, of course, difficult to talk about it because it cannot stay on the level of where we practice it for thousands of years as a mantra, as a part of a prayer. It cannot stay there. It has to become something that is really mind and holy mind, that is not part anymore of a material or physical expression at all, or not even of an awareness, okay, I'm now repeating God's mind, God's thought. Not even that. It has to become something that is really just, uh, in that sense, extending, a frequency extending to itself. Hi, Christine. And I think that is a real point where we become from like reading and studying A Course in Miracles or a lesson of the day, and we literally disappear in that practice because we become the thought to which he invites us. This is not just an application on a conceptual level. This is really an allowance, a giving allowance in our mind to extend what the creative thought is. And that's the amazing part of this lesson and of this invitation in on the day 183.
Yeah, thank you. This is something very important in this exercise you just described, to take whatever thought is in my mind and to give it kind of to the Holy Spirit and let him extend it towards love, and let him guide me towards love and back to the truth. So I can use every thought for that. This is such a beautiful practice, and a very important practice to always go back, to surrender, to give everything to him. And then I can just recognize I am love. There was never something else. There will be never something else. And I'm just already there, even if I thought I wasn't.
Yeah, nice. And that is an acknowledgement also what I believed I am. I'm this personality, I'm this body, I'm this part of the world, I'm this what my parents told me to be and what needs to develop and educate itself, and out of a sudden we are arriving, at least touching for a moment, for an instant. None of this is true. I'm not this. And of course, everyone has touched this. Otherwise, he couldn't even hear such a message that is completely uncompromising with its ultimate reality, with its truth. And it's just a matter of, is it really what I wholly desire and only desire? Do I want to go that way and make my choice and my decision for experimenting further, opening further up the non-existence of what I made myself? And am I giving permission and allowing myself to have that experienced and applied in in the simple daily affairs? I mean, I'm thinking about our relationships we have with our loved ones, no matter if it is a partnership or if it is something, the connection children parents. Am I, do I allow that to recognize my parents or my children uh, are non-existent? I'm non-existent in that as I made it up as an image. That's the question, because comes the fear in. There comes the mind, the conceptual mind in, trying to determine, well, I'm not yet ready for that, or I need a moment longer, or I need to reconsider that, or I have to wait until my kids are growing up. That's, and then I'm ready, no? But where we are guided towards is, no, this is the moment. This is the day this lesson is offered. This is the day this invitation is offered to be completely silent, to allow an all-encompassing thought and all-encompassing peace to come into experience. And it's on one level kind of shocking, né? That there is an offer there that says, "Hey, look, it's not that we're gonna take something away from you from out of time, you know. It is you who needs to give that that choice, that yes, that commitment, or that this express that desire. But if the moment we are active in that, what we call the mind training of A Course in Miracles, with those lessons, those daily lessons, I mean, what I noticed from the very beginning on was I'm asked to take everything with me, to find this is my thought. This comes from my mind. This reflects myself. And I'm asked not to leave it here and dig a hole and put it in and then deny it, but to take it with me. And that's the difference. The moment I'm asked to take my mind with me, I'm directed to see that the entire world and everyone and everything is me, is an expression of myself, is anyway in my mind. And I can only be in that extension of God, or at the core of the peace of God, when I'm willing to take everything with me.
Yeah, and there's a very important part in A Course in Miracles where it's written that first, God will never act against us, against our will. And yeah, and he will change, because our ego is always telling us you will lose, you will lose the most important things you have, and even telling us fear is something good and it's important, and safety is something important, and so on. And yeah, the Holy Spirit needs our will, even when you don't believe. I mean, this is another beautiful part. I don't even need to believe all these lessons I do through the daily life. And he will always change it into something beautiful, just into light, into love, which is so difficult to explain because it's not to explain. Yeah, but it's actually so beautiful, but because it gives me always something much better than I can ever imagine. And there's another sentence I really love in this lesson, in paragraph 4. Repeat his name, and all the tiny nameless things on earth slip into right perspective. So this is exactly this. I don't have anything to do. He will do it for me. And I mean, it's just a turning point. It just happens. when I am ready, when I'm willing to see, to experience. So, and this is what the ego is always trying to tell us and to have excuses. Ah, this is too difficult. You will not success in that. You have to do it, and it's hard, and it's exhausting, and I don't know what. And it's not. This is our nature. This is what we are. So it cannot be something difficult. It's just very natural, very loving, very gentle.
Yeah, very nice. What directs it in my mind is also to see, okay, here is a guidance given to experience first that the mind is naturally silent and a silent expression and extension. And from there, of course, what we are also talking about, there comes then the inquiry into its source. Ne? And from that source, we start talking about, okay, this is God, this is the Creator, this is the Father in heaven. And I'm going back to my source. Yeah. It is the going forward in the transformation is realized, is in truth a going back in the mind and of all thought forms and bringing those, in psychology we call it the subconscious unconscious thoughts, into perspective of being conscious of them. Ne? All the fears that have driven the human mind literally into insanity, ne? Are resurfacing and need to be brought home, ne? Need to be brought into this peace, into this silence, in order to see, oh, okay, it's true, as we said at the very beginning, there isn't really a problem. Ne? It's just a self-made, the problem has just been made up. And I do succeed by not avoiding this necessary healing of the mind. So in order to bring that really to something practical, that I can say, yes, this is not just a philosophy or theology in my mind. This is something I do practice, I do know from experience. And I do love that how Jesus, as the author of this Course in Miracles, brings it about. Because at that point, he will always direct us to our relationship to each other, that he calls the relationship with the brother. Yeah. And so he brings it on a level where every mind can relate with, because every mind is in relationship with a reflection of himself, of herself. And then it's really just a matter of, as I mentioned it already before, how much do I really want that? How much do I want to remember God exactly in these relationships in which I find myself? How much do I want? And that's what he expresses, and I might share that part too. It's part of in chapter 11 in the fifth section, pretty much at the end. paragraph 17, where he simply points out, would you remember the Father? As a question. Right? Would I remember the Father? And he immediately explains it that if there is a yes there, because of course every believer, everyone who is involved in any type of religion will always say, yes, don't you see, I'm doing my prayers, I'm doing my penance, I go to the temples and the churches, I'm doing the right thing. So that must be my clear yes to remembering the Father. But here with Discoursing Miracles, he is not concerned about that at all. He directs us literally to our brother. And he says then, accept his son, and you will remember him, and you will remember the Father. It is in the acceptance of the brother as the Son of God, as a perfect creation of God Himself, that I will remember God Himself. And those are like sentences that, when we really look at them, kind of tell us how simple that contact with God in truth is, but also how difficult it becomes when there's just one thought, a private thought, being kept in the mind as valuable, that is not of God, no? That is a separation thought, that is a grievance, that is an attack thought, that is any form of defending oneself from the truth. No? And so nothing can demonstrate that his son is unworthy, he says, for nothing can prove that a lie is true. And what you see of his son through the eyes of the ego is a demonstration that his son does not exist. Yet where the son is, the father must be. So we were just saying, I have to come actually in my own undoing to first touch my own non-existence of what I made up myself. But now in the application of the relationship with you, with every brother, every son of God, I have to turn that around and realize who he truly, as what he truly exists. né? Speaking that the brother is a perfect creation of God Himself, and not holding him what the eyes of the ego wants to make him, né? Because that would be just another nothingness. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I just remember I had an experience in the mountains when I was there with a Bedouin, and I looked at him and I realized suddenly, and it was kind of a shock, I realized that I saw him as a body, and it hurt me. I never realized it that intense, that much, that I mean, sure, it reminds me of just what I am not. So it really, I really felt pain physically. And this was such an important insight. And the other thing I remember that you, Devavan, you said in a session 1 or 2 years ago, whenever there is a problem and someone is talking to you, and maybe he's totally involved in a story, and he really truly believes it, and he's really like thinking he has a huge problem. to bless him. And this is the remembrance, this is the recognition that even when he talks about something and for him it seems so true, this is what I really can do. What is it's very helpful to yeah, I remember because this is my world I created. and there's even the connection going back to this, we are one. I want to remember the truth. It's not about the story. And I find this still very helpful. Yeah, whenever there is something someone is telling me, and yeah, like I remember, okay, this is weird, this irritates me, whatever it is, I can just bless him or her. So I go back to love, to peace, to light.
Mhm. Yeah, very important, né? And it also it always shows me that I don't really need to do anything with the situation. Yeah? I don't need to fix it, and I don't need to fix my brother. My brother can be in his own transformation exactly as it is chosen individually. I mean, who wants to be pushed or, punished by, and you should be a long time beyond that and all these talks, nobody's interested in that because the personal circumstances, what has been brought literally as a bag of denial from the past is in its connection and how it shows up very, very individual and very different from person to person. So what do I know? What you or any of my brother knows in needs and knows about it, and in order uh, to let it go this very moment. I can really always just come from my own perspective and what I want to be healed in that moment and what I don't want to recognize as a problem any longer, and so on and so forth. And of course, that is what blessing is offering me. Ne? I do not go into any specifics of the story, but can literally stay above the battleground and share a thought of that is of the mind of God. Every blessing, if it is meant from the heart, and a blessing is also, yes, brother, you do have place in me. I'm taking you with me. I'm not gonna let you be stranded here. I'm not gonna kill you or let you die again. I'm gonna take you with me because I do realize you are me. You are part of my mind that is also helping me and showing me what I still am asked to acknowledge and to integrate. And and that's exactly. Thank you, Andrea, for writing that into the chat, where you're expressing it to get more experience with this that literally wants to reveal itself as love itself. né? And to bring that into a daily experience. And therefore, it is so important to recognize that the neighbor, the one walking next to me, my brother, um, must have the qualities. And I'm the one acknowledging that the qualities that are of God, the qualities that are pure creative thought. And just a few more sentences where I was there in the chapter 11, where he directs my mind, our mind, accept into an acceptance. And he expresses it, accept what God does not deny, because God does not deny his own creation. Accept what God does not deny, and it will demonstrate its truth. If I accept the creative nature of my brother, then my brother will demonstrate his truth. The witnesses for God stand in his light, stand in the light of God, and behold what he created. Each and every one indeed is a witness for God. That the expression can take on completely stupid appearances, we already know, that it can express a complete egomaniac uh, uh, picture. That's what we know. That's what we see in every conflict, in every identification that, well, this is really nothing, or this is not so, and this shouldn't be so, But behind that, we are guided to look for the demonstration of truth, because I need to remember everyone walking with me in my dream, if I am accepting the truth for myself, must be also a witness for God. And is also just looking for a form to express it and bring it into fruition, that it is realized that, yes, it is also an expression of being a witness for God. So, in that sense, we all are just trying, and we all make mistakes here, no? And we all are misunderstood by, as long as there is a mind out there reflecting me, uh, well, how you express yourself is not the pure peace of God. I just recently was in a communication with a YouTube commenter, and it's exactly that thing. The moment I'm shown that I'm not whole, that I'm not perfect, that I'm an ego expression, that's exactly the point where I'm asked to acknowledge that this brother is also just looking for sharing with me to be a witness for God. And if what I'm doing with that, if I'm hiding his comments, which I did, or if I let it stand for eternity, that has nothing to do with it. I can do with it however I'm guided to do with it. But I have to bring it home to myself. And I can only bring it home to myself by not falling into the trap of the unworthiness. né? And that was called also in Christian terms when doubt is arising, because it's an expression of the doubt in the human mind. Because when there's doubt, the mind, the consciousness touches its past memory of unworthiness. Oh, I cannot teach that well enough. I cannot demonstrate the light. I'm not the son of God. All those expressions that, of course, we are dealing here constantly until it doesn't show up anymore. But that is literally that brother offering me. So I have all reason to be grateful for him when he shows me that any notion of doubt is showing up in my mind, because he offers me to not abide in questioning my true purpose and my function here, but is literally an agency to offer me to strengthen that I strengthen that for myself, because only I can strengthen that in my contact with God. I only can strengthen that if I follow that invitation to that silence and realize, as we were just sharing it from the lesson of the day, there isn't really anything going on here. There isn't really anybody out there. There isn't really a denial of God. There isn't really an ego or a devil doing anything. And that is really a coming up and stepping up and a rising into his mind and into the light.
Yeah, thank you, Devavan. Um, Maybe we could just experience this for a while, this silence, being still,
Yes, we are at the
experiencing
end
this.
of our session anyway, so let's just be the demonstration of it, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much for this experience, for joining here. Remember together the truth that we're all loved in peace.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I love
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you, everyone.
We're in the holy instant.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.